Hey, it's Tommy Colletti. I'm here at the Music Zoo with a plethora of vintage and new BC rich bitches. Let's talk about them. So let's hop in the time machine and take a ride with me back to the 70s on 48th Street in Manhattan. I've talked about it before in the past, 48th Street and the influence it had on me and so many players, famous, not famous, rich, poor, whoever, from New York, from all over the world. I remember walking on 48th Street and seeing a bunch of mockingbirds and eagles and bitches and being blown away. And it was Stuyvesant guitar, if I remember correctly. And they had them all leaning up against each other in the window, and the store was probably 250 square feet if it was that much. And they had the best stuff. And it was the first time I saw a BC Rich in person, but before that, it was actually on the Aerosmith bootleg album. And for me, and the era that album, I believe it came out in '78, and for me it was huge for my sort of pull into Aerosmith and everything Aerosmith. I was hearing Walk This Way and certain songs on the radio and was familiar with them, but the bootleg album for me, I guess just the timing and how old I was the one that sucked me in. And I remember also on New York radio, there was a station called WPLJ, and WPLJ would advertise that Aerosmith bootleg record. And it was one of those like typical Aerosmith live, blah, blah, blah. It was really cool and dramatic. And as a 12-year-old kid, remembering I had to have the record. So I got the Aerosmith bootleg record and listened to it over and over and over again. And in the double album, when you open it up, there were 2 or 3 pictures of Joe Perry that were just about as cool and rock star as you could get. There was one in particular where he was holding his hand in the air and he was holding this guitar, which was a BC Rich bitch that I'd never seen before. And there was another picture of him where it was kind of slung behind his back like a gunslinger. The coolest images. I obsessed over those pictures of not only him, but the rest of the band and how cool it was, and I would listen to the album at the same time. So that was my introduction to BC Rich. And then it wasn't long before you knew that Rick Derringer and Neil Giraldo was playing them. And Neil Giraldo, Pat Benatar's guitar player and now husband, great guitar player. And him ripping up an eagle on all those early videos. And I wound up getting to talk to Neil later on. And he told me that all of those recordings were actually with that eagle. So people were really loving the BC Rich guitars and what they stood for, and that they were all handmade. And it was just, as Neil told me, there was just a bunch of dudes sniffing lacquer and doing everything, like everything that you'd imagine from a 70s guitar company. There was a lot of pot smoking and lacquer sniffing, and they were just, but it was a big gang of people. One of those people being Neal Moser. And Neal, going to segue into this stuff. Neal is heading and directing these guitars. So the people that are making these guitars are under the direction of Neal, and they're made just like the originals. And the Music Zoo, during our 30-something year history, we've been BC Rich dealers and then not, and then have, and there were different iterations with different people making them. But this is as close, if not unidentifiable from the vintage. So I jumped in hook, line, and sinker, and we have them here. So let's start with this guitar. This guitar is an emulation of that same guitar from the bootleg record that I remember so closely. I got with Zach at Moser, BC Rich, and we just put this together, and I wanted to make it as close to that guitar as humanly possible from the original Joe Perry guitar. So it's got the full electronics, the Bill Lawrence pickups, the same color, the same everything. I never played Joe's, but if it plays anywhere near as good as this one, amazing. Let's talk about the next one. So this guitar here, this ultraviolet 6-string bitch, is based on our salesperson, Jessica, longtime salesperson, Jessica's original '83 bitch that's right next to me. And playing each one pretty much unidentifiable between the new one and the vintage '83 one. She spec'd this one out to obviously follow her original. Maybe she's thinking about selling the original, who knows? But the necks are, they feel exactly the same. You'd never know. We plug the guitar in, it sounds great. Brass bridge, the whole thing, wonderful. So this guitar is from my personal collection. It's a vintage bitch 10-string, and there's kind of a story attached to it. Maybe there's people out there that would recognize the insanity that goes with buying guitars. I didn't buy this terribly long ago, so here's how the story went. About 10 or 12 years ago, I get a call from Harvey at Rainbow Guitars, who's a friend of mine. And I should know he's setting me up, but I still fall for it, hook, line, and sinker every time. He calls me and he goes, "Hey man, I'm trying to price out a guitar and I'm not really sure of exactly what I should charge for this guitar, but maybe you'd be able to help me because I know you love those 70s and 80s guitars." And hence he goes, "It's a B.C. Rich Bitch 10-string." And as soon as he said that, you know, like my hand just started shaking on the phone and I was just like, well, in my head, I'm like, I have to have this guitar. I have to convince him to sell the guitar to me. And we wound up figuring out a price, and I'm sure he knocked me over the head as usual, and I just bought the guitar. So I get the guitar, and he told me the story with it, which was really funny. There's in the first and second fret, there's an inlay that says Dusty Stone. And apparently his story to me was Dusty Stone was a folk artist who her manager had decided that she needed to go more rock, and they built this guitar to change her persona from folk to rock, and this will do it, right? So I thought the story was cool, and there was a moment, like it also has a toggle on the top horn, which you normally don't see, factory done. So I get the guitar, and I love the guitar and everything. And I believe, if the timing is right, my daughter, Ava, was born, and it was one of those moments like, what am I doing with this guitar? I probably shouldn't have bought this guitar in the first place. So being at the Music Zoo and owning the Music Zoo, I go to my guys and go, "Hey man, let's put this up for sale." So I put it up for sale and I sell it. And it's gone for a year and a half, 2 years, 3 years, something like that. I don't think about it at all. And then it shows up on Chicago Music Exchange's website. I'm like, oh, that guitar. I can't believe that guitar is for sale at CME. This is a travesty. So instead of calling myself or sending an email, because my email is going to come up as Tommy at the Music Zoo, I get one of the guys in the store to use like their own personal account to send an email to them and try to, let's find out what the price is and let's see if we can talk them down a few $100. This is crazy. I buy the guitar back from them, not knowing they didn't know that I bought the guitar back or that it was me, or probably they didn't care actually. But so I get the guitar back in my possession, and I was just like reunited with this guitar again and playing it. I think it's super cool. In so many ways. I guess you guys could go over it, but the back routes and the plastic in the back is very custom. Everything about it is just as cool 10-string bitch as you could possibly get. So, gas in full swing. This last one is from my collection as well. This is an '83. This is typical Koa bitch 6-string. I don't even remember where I got this one. Who knows? I've had several through the years, including Mockingbirds and Eagles. I love the Eagle and the Mockingbird equally. And this one I just had to have as well. It's just super cool. It plays amazing. It's got the brass pickup rings, which I think are cool, and the Imperial Grovers. Everything about it is just typical B.C. Rich and sounds amazing. So there you have it. B.C. Riches, new and old. The new ones feel amazing. The old ones, they speak for themselves. If you never had the opportunity to get an old one and you want to build a new one, come build a new one with us and experience what these things are about. They're amazing.